What's up, everybody? Welcome to Morale Boost episode 6. Sit back, relax, open a can of morale, and get ready for an absolutely fantastic episode where we talk about utilizing your connection with nature to rebel against the modern world. I recently watched a video by Dr. Simon Clark on YouTube. I've been watching him for quite a long time. He has a doctorate in I think it's something to do with the atmosphere and clouds, I'm pretty sure. I may be wrong there, I'm probably butchering it, but basically he uploaded a video called The Worst Month in Climate News in My Entire Career. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit and go through what he says in the video and then basically talk about how we can use our relationship with nature, cultivating that relationship and having your children build that relationship with nature, not only to fight climate change but also to help with mental health. It's kind of like a win-win for everyone. But let's talk about what he actually says in the video to start with. I've got a bit of a summary here on some of the things that he said about how apparently it's the worst month in climate news for him. Apparently he has been covering this thing. I remember I watched one of his videos about 5 years ago when my son was first born, because I was kind of following his progression, and so I know he's been in this field for quite some time. He's even wrote a book about it, I'm pretty sure. And so this was quite distressing watching this. So let's go through some of the things that he talked about. It says CO2 levels jumped by 3.5 parts per million between 2023 and 2024, which is the largest annual increase. Human emissions are still rising, and net neutral carbon sinks, like forests and oceans and stuff like that, are becoming less efficient, which kind of, if you think about it, creates like this negative feedback loop, right? UN Secretary General, I can't talk properly today, confirms that we will overshoot the 1.5 degrees Celsius warming that everyone's been worrying about, and that the UK climate advisory the advisors say that we probably should plan for a 2-degree increase in global temperature by 2050, which is quite worrying when you see the state of things like the Great Barrier Reef in Australia and how this 0.5%, well, going up to 1.5%, which is something that I guess if you're kind of like watching the climate news all the time, I don't really watch it as much as I probably should, because it's just doom and gloom all the time, isn't it? And it is very distressing. So I don't watch it too much, but the 1.5 has been lingering around for quite some time, saying if we get to that point, it's almost as if it's like the tipping point, the point of no return. Climate actions are falling short. We're implementing the right solutions like renewables, but we're not doing it fast enough. In some sectors like steel, he mentions, which I've never heard of this sector being associated with this issue, we're actually going backwards, and methane leaks are being reported more, but response is still minimal. University of Exeter reports saying that we've crossed the first global tipping point. Warm water corals are now in irreversible decline, and we are closer than ever to Amazon rainforest dieback, ice sheets instability, and Arctic methane release. Biodiversity collapse as well since 1970. Global wildfire populations. Oh my god, I can't talk properly. Since 1970, global wildlife populations have declined by 73%. Extinctions are permanent, by the way. I know we see and watch things like Jurassic Park, but the truth is, when something goes extinct, then it's very, very, very rare, if not impossible, to bring them back. So I think this is probably one of the most upsetting things that I've seen. We obviously saw the Hurricane Melissa over Jamaica, which has become the strongest ever in the Atlantic this time of year, and it was 500 to 900 times more likely due to climate change. Yeah, I mean, these are all horrible things out there. These are all things that are incredibly sad and stressful and horrible to hear. I don't really care if you're one of the people who believes in climate change or not. I think if you love the outdoors, it's obviously becoming increasingly more obvious that the wildlife and the natural areas that we have are in decline. And I think people who say that this isn't happening are usually people who don't necessarily go out and see it enough. Because I see it here in the UK. Obviously, I moved from the UK in 2015 to go and live in America. And I had this image of what the UK was when I left, and when I came back, it was drastically different. And so that alone says to me that that it's obviously not going well, right? And it's quite worrying. Okay, so after that bad news, all that bad news, let's take a deep breath and let's talk about how we can cultivate our relationship with nature to help both the environment and ourselves. But I'm going to take a moment, take a sip of morale, because the bad news is out the way now. Let's talk about being proactive. You can take a deep breath with me if you'd like. There is a train going past, and we're going to breathe right through it. I've been utilizing box breathing recently, which is breathing in for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, releasing it for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, doing that 4 times. And I've been doing it with my kids as well. And it definitely does help, right? Like, oh my God, I was in the Marines, very masculine kind of energy. Hear that train? Obviously, it's very much guys taking no nonsense and stuff like that. So when you talk about breathing or cold water plunges or forest bathing or meditation and yoga, that woo-woo stuff kind of is shunned in the masculine space. And I think we need to start owning it and utilizing it. I think it's quite obvious that these techniques of cold water, of specifically breathing, and rhythmic breathing was used before battles and stuff like that. You can look into that if you want. It's a fascinating area of research that you can do. And we need to start owning that again. We need to start owning them deep breaths. Let's do one more before we get into this next part. Definitely feels good to do it. Okay. I got the wrong piece of paper here. I put the wrong one down. Let me pull up my other piece of paper. Where are we? All right. So I've got some bullet points here that I want to talk about. First of all that bad news. The climate crisis, whether you believe it or not, is not just a scientific issue, okay? In my opinion, it's a relationship issue. The more we have a relationship with the land, the more we're going to see them changes, the more we're going to act accordingly to the land. The best example of this, in my opinion, is watching Clarkson's farm. Jeremy Clarkson, who I couldn't really stand on Top Gear. It just wasn't my cup of tea. He was kind of annoying, obnoxious, full of himself. Now I have become absolutely obsessed with watching Clarkson's farm because it's phenomenal. And seeing the progress that he's made from the start of season 1 to now, which we're on season 3 or 4, I think it is now, the latest one, just goes to show that when you have a direct connection with the land, you start caring more about the land. His progression of being very much not really caring about environmental stuff, obviously he drove crazy cars, he didn't care, to now he's doing things on his farm that really are aligned with nature, and it's beautiful to see. And I think that, in my opinion, is one of the best examples of getting over this self-ego of, I don't care about that, it's not something I want to worry about, I care about what I like. And as soon as you form that relationship with the outside world, it becomes different, doesn't it? It becomes more important to you. Because in truth, we have become consumers of nature more than a participant of it. We consume not only things made with nature while not being in nature, but we also consume videos like this you're watching right now of nature and not going out in them. This is a call to action. If you're watching this podcast or listening to it, after this podcast, switch it off, go sit outside for a little bit. Rain, snow, wind, go sit outside for a little bit and take some deep breaths. The practice of sitting in the same place every single day for a certain period of time, observing nature, is profound. I've implemented this countless times where I'll just sit outside in nature and just observe what's going on. And through that, over time, it compounds and you see nature changing right in front of your eyes. You notice the same birds arriving at the bird feeders. You notice the same squirrels, the same animals. You notice the trees changing. It's a beautiful thing to do. People protect what they love, right? And so if you're starting to form that relationship with nature and you start to fall in love with it, which I did, you will start to protect it inevitably. And I think one of the big parts of that is rewilding, right? If we rewild ourselves and realize that we are part of nature, all of this is going to fall into place. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, because the truth is the majority of the global struggles we're having with the environment right now are mostly corporations. Like, we're well aware of that. It's big corporations doing the most damage and not caring, because they have the money to not care. They have the money to pay politicians and change the political system in their favor, and it can feel very you can feel very helpless as just one person. And I think it's important in them aspects to get outside and take a deep breath, and just like in Lord of the Rings, realize that sometimes the smallest of individuals can have the biggest of impact. Obviously, with all this being said, going outside and forming this relationship with nature is also going to help you in your mental health. We're seeing a mental health crisis right now, and it is absolutely horrendous. Men around the world are offing themselves at crazy rates, and it's heartbreaking to see. I have had friends that have done it, both in the military and outside the military, and it's something that just feels like a helpless issue, and everyone talks about it and no one does anything about it, right? The military is a big example of that. The military talks about mental health all the time, and the moment you turn around and say to them, I'm struggling, they don't want anything to do with you. And that's from my experience. I hope that was my experience in 2010, 2011. I hope that's not the same anymore, but it was at the time. Nature reduces anxiety, depression, and stresses, and that's backed by countless studies. The looking at trees and vast landscapes or stars lowers the ego and brings in perspective. When you're looking, oh my God, when I would drive through Maine, lived in Maine for 7 years, and you'd drive up north as if you're going to like Caribou or some of these very remote towns, and you just look out at the mountains and the forest, and you'd realize just how wild the place is, and you would feel so insignificant but yet a part of it all. And it felt so good. It felt so good. And it does reduce the ego. It does reduce them stresses and anxieties. It does make you think, listen, I'm a part of this. It's bigger and wilder beyond my wildest dreams, but I'm still a part of it. And that can feel very special. Obviously, we're also seeing this massive shift in the world with the online presence and digital presence and AI, and how, in my opinion, the AI, the internet is going to be so flooded with AI content that you're not going to know if anything's real or not anymore. And so I want to reiterate what I've said in previous episodes. Everything on this podcast, everything on this channel is going to be done by me, by a human, until I hire more people, and it's going to be done by other humans. It's not going to be done by AI. And I want to set that guarantee right now, so that if you're watching this in the future and you're so confused on the online landscape of what's real and what's not, you can look at these videos here on Drink Morale and know that it's done by a human. That's a guarantee, and it's a standard that we're going to keep. The other thing, let me take another sip of Morale because it's really good. The other thing is, helping our kids foster that relationship with nature. I know it's very unconventional the way that I bring my kids up. I homeschool them, and they go to a forest school 2 to 3 times a week. Very unconventional compared to most people. A lot of people can't afford to homeschool. Their family situation doesn't allow it. There's a lot more bars to entry. I understand that. But what we are seeing now, because we shouldn't put children in boxes, that's a whole nother rant on its own. Children should not be contained within a box. My kids would be labelled as ADHD and all this other stuff because they won't be able to sit down. But the truth is they just need to get outside and run about. That's it. And we can get into the whole home education, because I don't believe that kids all learn within the same speed, and how that can deter self-positivity and self-talk, because you might label them as not very good at something just because they haven't reached that capacity in one particular field yet. That's a whole nother subject. But what we are seeing here in the UK specifically is there are a lot more primary schools implementing a forest school alongside their regular education. And so putting out a bit of a call to action, if you are a parent of children in school right now, have a look and see if your school is doing a forest school, if they have the facilities to do that, and if they don't, ask them if it's something that maybe we could start having a conversation about. If they're completely against it and that's not something that aligns with them, maybe have a look around at other primary schools. If you have to drive an extra 10, 15, 20 minutes to drop your kid off at school, but they so happen to have accessibility to a forest school department, I personally think that trade-off is well worth it in a day and age where we're seeing such a disconnection from the outside world. The more kids form that relationship with nature, the less they're going to rely on technology to give them self-fulfillment, and therefore we would hope to see an increase in positive mental health. Let's have a look here at some of my other notes. I've got here, childhood memories rooted in nature foster lifelong environmental stewardship. Bit of a tongue twister, but basically, if they're forming a relationship with something at an early age, they're going to fall in love with that thing at an early age, and therefore they're going to advocate for it. And this isn't about left or right-wing politics, because at the same time, there are people on the right side of the political spectrum who love to go hunting and love to be out and do that stuff, care about the environment just as much as the left side of the aisle who are talking about, helping the climate change and all that stuff, right? There's two different sides of the coin here, but there's no reason why that Venn diagram of them two individuals can't align in the middle to care about the outdoors. It's a very simple thing, right? And so in letting your child get used to the environment, take them outside. You know what? Take their shoes off. Let them run in the mud. Get their mud between their toes. Teach them how to map read. Let them whittle with a stick at an early age and grow confidence in utilising a knife for bushcraft. Let them start the fire. If you're having a little fire in your garden and you sat around a fire at any time of the year, do it in the winter, by the way. Do it in the snow. Get a fire going outside and sit around the fire. Let your kid light it. Let them learn how to light it. It's a beautiful thing that they can foster. That's all I'm going to rant about with getting children outside. I feel like it deserves its own full episode, to be honest with you. So we will do that. Let me check the time on how we're doing here. 20 minutes into the episode. Let's have a look here. Biodiversity loss. We've talked about how humans have cultivated and changed the way that nature is and the environment is and the biodiversity at the moment. I did a video recently about how the UK has more deer population than we have in the past 1,000 years. That's because we've got no predators. I think the advocacy of bringing back some of these predators is very much something we should be talking about. Some people are very much against it. I think bringing back wolves and the lynx into the UK would be a great success. But I also am well aware that conversation is much more difficult, especially because it's mostly farmers that are against it, and at the same time, farmers are going through their own terrible period right now, where most farms are shutting down, most farms are unsustainable, and so then throwing the idea of wolves being around at them is obviously going to be quite daunting. They're going to be very much against it. Not everyone, but I think that definitely would make a big difference. I've got the wrong piece of paper again. 1 second. Where is it? My other piece of paper. As you can see, I've been making loads of notes for this. Obviously, talking about this nature connection, it is a form of quiet rebellion against the modern system. You going outside and maybe not taking your phone or putting your phone in silent and maybe throwing it in your bag so it's not accessible and just enjoying the moment is a quiet form of rebellion against this modern digital age. I think going outside, taking a tree identification book and learning just the name of one tree on that trail. Go for a walk and be like, today I'm going to learn this tree. And just look around on your trail and be like, oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. And start forming that relationship now. You can't form a relationship if you don't know the names of the people you're making the relationship with. And therefore, going outside and learning the name of all these sparrows that are flying over me right now. Not sparrows, sorry. I got it completely wrong. They are... it's gone. I'm sorry. I have just failed at my own idea. Blue tits. That's what they're called. There's another one. Actually, there's loads of them. That's unusual. They usually are only few and far between. Maybe a couple of them are great tits because they were flying quite quick. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to end this podcast at some point and go and scout them out and figure out exactly what's going on with them. Outdoor rituals is the next thing I want to talk about. Some of them can be quite woo-woo and people will laugh at it these days, like cold plunges. If you've got a local river near you, or if you can just get a bathtub or whatever, or take a cold shower, it switches you on. If you can do that specifically out in nature, somehow jerry-rig a outdoor shower and just take a sprinkle outside. You can get them from camping stores. Get yourself some sort of, big bucket. The animal grazing buckets that farmers use. You can get barrels from people. You can get cold plunges now online, although a lot of them that I've seen are not very good quality. I got one recently. Well, I got one about a year ago through a sponsorship or earlier this year, and it was just poor quality. So be very careful. Some of these plastic ice baths are just crap. So be very careful of that. But yeah, cold plunges, doing things outside, doing your breathing exercises specifically outside is a good way to form that connection and form like an outdoor ritual for yourself. The obvious Andrew Huberman, wake up, don't look at your phone, get straight outside, stare at the sun for a little bit. All that stuff we know. He's the scientist. He talks about how beneficial that is for your mental health. That's another ritual you can perform and can help as well. Foraging, trail running, forest bathing is another one. It's a fancy word for just going sitting outside and taking some big breaths. Trail running is a good one. I like to trail run. I think it's something that is very therapeutic. These little rituals that you can give yourself compound over time. And if you're doing one small thing, even if it's like a cold plunge and it takes 30 seconds, you doing that every single day or every other day, maybe even 3 times a week, if you're doing that consistently, you're going to start forming a relationship with the outdoors and noticing things outside. Listen, we'll sum it up there. You don't have to fix the climate change all by yourself. We can do it together. We can do it in a co-op with nature, in a co-relationship with nature. And I think we do it now that it's got so drastic that the world is changing so quickly. I think one of the best ways to go ahead and do this is by helping the next generation have a good understanding on nature and letting them have a relationship with it. I think that starting a community like we're trying to do here on Morale, where we advocate for each other, we help each other. There is in the new year we're going to be starting to do community-based activities where I'm going to be meeting up with people. So if you're in the UK and that's something you're interested in, we'll be meeting up, we'll be going for walks, we'll be going on hikes, we'll be doing meditations, forest bathing, all these different things. Hopefully getting some experts in to do some bushcraft, some foraging. Forming community, I think, is massive, and advocating for that relationship between your child and nature is another big step. And so lots of ideas here. I'm on my own in this podcast. Hopefully in the near future we'll start getting guests on, but I want this to be a bit of a dialogue between me and you listening or watching. If you've got feedback, if you've got thoughts on this situation, if you've got other ideas, let me know in the comment section. Please leave a review on the podcast. It goes a long way with the mysterious algorithm. Other than that, I'm going to end this podcast here. When this video ends, we're going to take a deep breath together. We're going to end the video, and then you're going to get yourself outside. You ready? Deep breath in for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, releasing it for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds. Are we ready? Hold it. 3, 2, 1. Release. 3, 2, 1. And hold. 2, 1. Thank you for watching Morale Boost. I'll see you in the next episode. Next week we'll have a nice vlog out. After this video, if you get outside, let me know what you're going to do. Let me know where you're going to go. Let me know what you're going to see. And let me know what tree or bird or animal or insect or fungi that you're going to learn the name of today. I love you all. Stay connected to the real world and disconnected from the fake world. Until next time, goodbye.